Grandad didn't have a job. Instead, he spent all his time thinking, dreaming, and working on his inventions. For the past few years, he had been building a time machine, an immensely complex and sophisticated piece of machinery which currently occupied most of the space in this big old barn. No one could know what he was building here, Grandad always said. His work had to be completely secret. "If anyone asks what I do, say I work with computers. They won't ask any more questions." And he was right. They never did. Another of Grandad's brilliant inventions was a tiny machine which you fitted to your mouth, clipping it behind your front teeth so you could speak any language. He had also invented a tiny earpiece which would allow you to understand anything that anyone said to you. Scarlett had seen both these inventions, but she couldn't understand why Thomas should be wearing them right now. "I'm sending him back to have a look at the Vikings," Grandad explained. "He needs some inspiration for his homework." Scarlett was shocked. "You can't do that. It's much too dangerous. What if he never comes back?" "He'll be fine," Grandad said. "He's a very sensible young man." "No, he isn't." "I am," Thomas insisted. Scarlett said, "If you want him to travel through time, Grandad, why don't you go with him?" "Someone has to stay here and operate the machine," Grandad said. "I could do that," Scarlett said. "You don't know how to," Grandad said. "But you can go with your brother if you want. You'll learn a lot about the Vikings too." "You must be joking," Scarlett said to her grandfather. Then she turned to her brother. "Don't do this, Thomas. What if you get stuck in the past? Or murdered? What if the time machine sends you into the future by mistake? Or disintegrates you into a million pieces?" Thomas nodded. "You're right," he said. "It is very dangerous. Anyone sensible would stay here and read a good book instead." "Exactly," Scarlett said. "See you later," Thomas said. He walked towards the doorway at the centre of the machine. "Okay, Grandad, I'm ready to go." Scarlett thought through her options. Could she really let her brother travel through time alone? Didn't she have a duty to look after him? If she couldn't stop him, shouldn't she go with him to make sure he didn't suffer some terrible accident? She would have liked to sit down and consider the matter properly, maybe writing a list of pros and cons, thinking through all the alternatives, and discussing all the issues before reaching a conclusion and deciding on the most sensible course of action. Unfortunately, she didn't have time for any of that, because Grandad was already touching a screen on his time machine, spinning a dial, choosing the year where Thomas would end up. He moved the dial back 1,000 years, then another 1,000, but wasn't sure where to stop. He looked at his grandchildren. "When were the Vikings?" he asked. Thomas shrugged his shoulders. "I haven't a clue." "You don't even know that?" Scarlett couldn't believe it. "We've been studying them all term." "It's not my fault if I'm not interested in history." Grandad was still waiting for an answer. "Come on, kids, tell me, when were the Vikings?" Scarlett knew the answer. "Roughly between the year 800 and the year 1000, although you could say the age of the Vikings started earlier than that and ended after that." Grandad touched the screen again and moved the dial to 800, then nudged it forwards a few notches. For no particular reason, he settled on the year 859. Then he turned the machine's main switch from off to on. A low hum filled the workshop. Lights flashed, tubes gurgled, cylinders shook, discs spun, fluid pumped. The ground beneath their feet trembled as the enormous machine shuddered and whirred. Thomas walked towards the door. It was open, but on the other side there was nothing but darkness. "Stop!" Scarlett yelled to her brother. "You can't do this." "You can't tell me what to do," Thomas replied. "You're not my mum." "I am your big sister," Scarlett said. "You're not bigger than me. I'm older than you. Don't be silly. It's a fact." Scarlett was older than her brother, and much more sensible. That was what she thought anyway, and most people seemed to agree with her. According to Thomas, they were the same age, but of course he was wrong. She had been born before him. Not very long, it was true, but 20 minutes was more than nothing, wasn't it? So she was the oldest, and he was the youngest, and so he ought to do whatever she said. Unfortunately, he never did. Now he gave her a little wave. "See you later," Thomas said, and stepped through the doorway. "Wait!" Scarlett cried. But she was too late. He had already disappeared. One moment he had been there, and the next he was gone. The darkness had swallowed him up.